In order to demonstrate the extended Hello World program, I'm now going to switch to my ideal web prototyping environment, a command line terminal, an IDE, and my browser with favorite development plugins. Okay, so let's go to the Symfony website, download the latest version of Symfony. It will be like so. I'm going to unzip it and open it up in an IDE. The folder structure you see is fairly simple. App contains configuration files for my entire application. The cache folder as well. Bin contains some useful scripts, currently only one in order to update Symfony. Source is where I actually store my source code for the application. It comes with a demo bundle, which doesn't do much. Vendor is where I store all the third-party applications as well as the Symfony framework itself. And web contains all my publicly accessible files, including CSS files, JavaScript files, and of course the front controller into which all HTTP requests are directed. So when you first load it up, this is what it looks like. Links to various help pages, as well as a place to configure my database access and more. Alright, so to begin our Hello World application, we need to add a bundle for ourselves, which we do by going to the console. Symfony has what's called a command line console, through which you can add perform many tasks. If you just type console without any arguments, it will give you a list of different commands that you can run. The one we are most interested in are the generate commands. So app console generate bundle. We'll give it a name, put it inside the experts namespace and call it hello bundle. Say yes to everything. And if you go to our source code, we will see that namespace and bundle has been created with folders for things like a controller, views, and so on. Let's check out the controller. You can see there's one action which takes an argument called name. The route annotation defines what pattern, URL pattern, is going to map to this particular controller. And in this case it's /hello and then an argument called name. This argument is passed to the view, which says hello name. Okay, so let's come to our browser and type hello Laban. Voila, hello Laban. Let's make it more powerful. Let us define the route to be $name and add another parameter called age, which gets passed as an argument. Over here we're going to manipulate the name, stir to upper $name, and the age will increase by 10. Pass age to the view. One, let's say 20, and it's capitalized, and the age is gone up. Notice what happens if I remove this argument. It breaks, because that argument by default is mandatory. If I want to make it optional, I need to give it a default value, which can be done as so. Equals to 0. So now, when I go to it, it's 0 plus 10, which is 10 years old. But this is kind of useless unless I save stuff into the database. To do that, I have to create an entity first. To the entity, we go back into our console, app console dot try generate entity. We give the entity a name, telling it which bundle I want to put it to. So experts hello bundle person. Person, we want to have two fields, name and age. So we put name, it's going to be a string, and age, which is going to be an integer. Okay, so done. We can go back to our code and we see we have a new entity folder with our entity. The class is completely defined and it has all particular details you may need, with annotations defining where the columns are mapped. So name is mapped to a column called name, age is mapped to a column called age, and so on. This needs to be reflected in our database. So we go back to here, Symfony app console dot shrine schema update. Doing so, if I will now notice a new table called person, which is added, and that table has the required fields that I need for my entity. So let's go ahead and try and save that object. I'm going to do $person equals to new person, person set name dollar name dollar. This notice 130 is saved. Now I want to actually have a form in order to save it rather than put it directly in the URL. So we can go down here, app console generate dot try form. To give it the entity name. Generate dot trend experts hello person. If we go to our IDE, if we go to IDE, we will see a new folder called form, which defines basically how the form. This form can be used to generate pages. I could write this by hand, or I could actually generate a controller that does all code actions: create, retrieve, update, and delete. You can do that by console dot try hello a new controller has been made, and this controller happens to have arguments, actions for listing, showing, new, create, and everything. Creating a new one is pretty simple. It creates an entity, it creates a form for the entity, passes both to the view, which basically outputs the form and some extra actions. So if we go here, I can go to person, and you automatically get a form. Good. And we go to list and so on. And these things can be customized as usual. They all show up in the database.